Hello and welcome, it's Chris from Christopher Holt Training. Welcome to this week's tutorial. We're going to be talking about knee pain and we're going to be talking about how to overcome knee pain from running. Now, we're going to be talking about three different things. We're going to be talking about sort of where it comes from. We're then going to be talking about some of the muscles that could be involved that you want to start thinking about, and then we're going to talk about what you can do with regards to stretches and foam rolling those particular muscles or those particular areas of the body to be able to overcome your knee pain, or at least reduce your knee pain. Now, with regards to knee pain, it's not normally the knee. Many people come to me thinking that there's a problem with their knee, but what we tend to find, it's a lack of mobility at the hip, which is punishing the joint above and below. So if we're talking about the joint above, it would be the lower back. The joint below the hip is obviously the knee, which is where the problem's coming this time. It could well be at the lower back. You could have problems in your lower back, but sometimes it will be problems in the knee as well. And in running, it's generally the knee because you get so much impact through when the foot hits the floor. So what we're talking about, or the area of the body that we're going to be focusing on, is the hip. Now, depending on what side or what knee you get the pain in, will generally be the side that we want to be focusing on with the hip. So what we're going to do now is we're going to talk a little bit about the muscles that are involved. Depending on where the pain is on the knee, depending if it's on the inside, the outside, underneath, feels like it's on top of the kneecap, will depend on where you want to focus your attention with regards to the muscles, the exercises and the stretches and the foam rolling. Now, we haven't got enough time to go into that sort of detail, but what we are going to do is we're just going to do a big overview of all the areas that you want to be focusing on and the different muscles that are there. So the muscles to look for: the TFL, the tensor fasciae latae, which is this muscle just here on the front, sort of the front outside of the hip. You've then got glute medius and glute minimus, which you can see on here. You've got glute medius in this area here on the hip, just above the big glute max muscle here. And then underneath the glute medius, you've got the glute minimus. Now, if you wanted to, you could look at piriformis and other external rotators of the hip, which are here. But just to start with, we would focus on glute medius and glute minimus. Then we go down to the adductors. Now, the adductors is a big group of muscles that are situated on the inside of your thigh. So you will want to be focusing on foam rolling and stretching that group. You've then got psoas and iliacus, which are the two hip flexor muscles, or two major hip flexor muscles, which are here and here. So that's two muscles that are grouped together to be called the iliopsoas muscle. And then finally, we have the gastrocnemius and the soleus. Now, these are the two major muscles of the lower leg, which we're also going to be just making sure and focusing on when we talk about the ankle and the lower leg. So what we're going to do now is move on to the exercises, the stretches and the foam rolling exercises that you want to be focusing on to be able to hit all of these muscles. So that's what we'll do next. To target all the muscles we've talked about in the previous slide, here we've got 5 different stretches and foam rolling exercises to be able to relax those muscles, reduce the stress and the tension around the hip, which will then have an impact on the knee below it. So what we've got here is we've got the gluteal muscles, which is this foam rolling exercise number just here. And then we want to be focusing on this area to the side of the hip, rolling up and down, but also back and forth. So rotating the body, chest towards the floor and then back towards the floor. Hip flexor muscles is this stretch here. What we're trying to do is get this knee forward, this knee back, keeping your torso upright but not overarching your back. And this will stretch this area here. Then when it comes to the adductors, we want to take the knee that's down on the floor here away from the foot over here. This will stretch the adductors on the inside of the leg. Then that was number 3. And then number 4 is for the TFL. So you can also access the quads in here, so you can get the lateral, the middle and the medial quad in here if you want to. And if you want to do that, you would start at the knee and you would work your way all the way up to the top of the hip. But if you want the TFL, it's this area just here towards the front, but at the top and just to the side of the hip. So that would be the TFL. So that's the adductors, the quads. And then number 5, which is the lower leg, which you've got the soleus down at the bottom here, and then you've got the fleshy gastrocnemius that sits just above it. So you want to roll all the way through that. So that's up and down, but also you can turn your toe inward. So you can turn it this way and you can turn your toe outward as well. And that will just roll across the fibers as well. So those are the 5 foam rolling exercises and stretches that you want to do to be able to target all those muscles to then be able to stabilize the hip a little bit more, which will reduce pressure on the knee below it. So many thanks for watching. My name is Chris from Christopher Holt Training. I'll speak to you in next week's tutorial.